I used to have Chris Stokes. Chris used to have me have. He wanted me to have all the time.
I was molested by Chris Stokes and Marcus Houston, and that's the truth. Period.
At 40, Raz B reveals the worst things we feared they did to him. After years of silence, he finally spoke out, accusing a famous record executive and a popular R&B singer of manipulating and abusing him while he was younger and with the group B2K. What really happened behind the scenes of the iconic boy band? Could the trauma he endured as a child have led to his shocking decisions later in life? In 2019, he walked off the B2K Reunion tour, citing fears tied to that same dark past.
Just 5 days later, you made a video saying you're leaving the tour.
Then, in 2021, the narrative took a sharp turn when his ex-girlfriend accused him of assault, igniting a storm of backlash and deepening the chaos around his name.
I didn't want to have
That's non-consensual.
Non-consensual.
Did his alleged abuse experience as a child influence this latter dark streak? Let's get into it. In 2007, Raz B went public. Not with a song, not with a tweet, but with a video that made the entire industry freeze. He looked straight into the camera and said what many feared, but nobody dared to say out loud. Chris Stokes was the man who did things to him, things that should never happen to a child. Raz B said he was 13. He said it started when they were trying to make it in music. He said it was not just him. The street is saying this was not a publicity stunt. It was a cry for help. The most shocking part? He mentioned names. Chris Stokes, Marcus Houston. He said they were there. He said they knew. He said it all happened under their watch. Then it got even darker. Raz B's brother, Ricardo Thornton, backed him up. In another video, he told the same story and added more details. Same pattern, same timeline, same people.
Brother, and he me. Chris made me take showers with the other boys. We had to go to Capitol Records, and so it's like all that little.
Chris Stokes denied everything. He said it was all lies. He released a statement claiming he never did anything inappropriate. But the street is saying his silence after that moment was loud. No lawsuits, no public push for justice, just denial and disappearance.
Do you know if Chris Stokes is gay?
I mean, I can't tell you if he's gay. I can tell you that I'm gay, but I don't know if he's gay. I know he likes little and allegedly.
Then Raz B vanished. No more interviews, no new music, no tour appearances. For years, fans thought he was done with the industry. But then he came back, and it looked worse. Raz B started going live on social media. He looked scared. He said he was being watched. He talked about people trying to harm him. He even said, "I am not safe." At first, people thought it was a mental breakdown. But the more he talked, the more it sounded like the same old truth coming back. The street is saying, if he was lying, why does he still look traumatized 15 years later? Because what Raz B said in 2007, he never took it back. And that is when people started listening again. But just as quickly as Raz B's claims began to resurface, the silence from the music industry became deafening. Chris Stokes didn't retaliate through legal means. He didn't go after Raz B for defamation. No lawsuits, no legal battles, no public fight to clear his name. Instead, he did the one thing he knew how to do best: disappear. He faded from the limelight. He became a ghost in the industry. Chris Stokes went underground. He stopped managing big-name acts. He withdrew from public appearances. No interviews, no explanations, no clarifications. The street is saying his silence was more damning than any public accusation could have been. Stokes never directly defended himself, and that only fed the growing doubt. If there was nothing to hide, why wasn't he defending himself? Why was he staying silent? His absence spoke louder than anything he could have said. And that silence, it left room for more questions, more accusations, and more people stepping forward with stories that started to line up with what Raz B had said. B2K, once a symbol of perfect harmony, was starting to look like something much darker. A manufactured dream hiding a nightmare. But the silence wasn't just from Stokes. The rest of B2K also stayed eerily quiet. Omarion went on to his solo career. Lil Fizz shifted into reality TV. J-Bug was nowhere to be seen. Only Raz B continued to speak out, desperately trying to make people listen, but the industry wouldn't give him a chance. There were no big exposés, no major media outlets picking up the story, no public outcry. Instead, people dismissed him. They said he was mentally unstable. But the street is saying Raz B didn't just stop talking because of his mental state. He stopped talking because no one would listen. And the more he spoke, the more the industry tried to silence him. The more they ignored his pain. But that didn't stop him. Raz B kept going live, kept telling his story. He didn't let the quiet suffocate him. And in those moments, the cracks in the facade of the music industry started to show. Then, in 2019, after more than a decade of silence, Raz B returned to the stage. The fans were ready. The B2K Reunion Tour was announced, and the excitement was palpable. Fans were hoping for the nostalgia of seeing the old B2K back together, at least for one more round of performances. But when the reunion began, Raz B wasn't the same. He didn't smile like the others. He didn't perform with the same energy. His body language screamed discomfort, fear, and paranoia. On the very first night of the tour, Raz B left the stage, unable to continue. He walked off, visibly distressed. Later, he went on social media and made another chilling statement. "I don't feel safe. I can't do this tour." The street is saying it was no coincidence. Raz B couldn't perform because the trauma was still there. The past he tried to leave behind was still haunting him. Raz B didn't just walk off the stage that night. He was walking away from years of unresolved pain. Pain he was never allowed to process properly because the industry moved on and left him behind. And that night on stage, the street saw the truth. Raz B wasn't performing because he couldn't. It wasn't just about being on tour with B2K again. It was about facing demons that were still lurking in the shadows, with no one to help him confront them. But the industry, as usual, ignored him. They ignored the trauma that wasn't just about being a former child star. They ignored the years of abuse, the manipulation, the control. Raz B might have been a part of the B2K reunion, but the reunion didn't heal him. It only exposed how broken he really was.
Basically, it all started with Chris Stokes. Like, it started one day with Chris was like, "Well, let me touch it." You know what I mean? And it's just like you're brainwashed. I don't.
The street is saying Raz B wasn't just a victim. He might have been a predator too. Because in March 2021, an actress named Cali Brooks stepped forward. She didn't just whisper accusations. She laid it all out. Photos, police audio, and a string of allegations that painted a dark picture of the former B2K member. She said Raz B gave her a black eye. She said he strangled her in a parking lot. She said he raped her and got her pregnant against her will.
I didn't want to have
That's non-consensual.
non-consensual.
If you're under the influence. So, and then you were pregnant.
It wasn't a blog rumor. It wasn't a Twitter thread. It was a TikTok video with receipts. Cali Brooks showed the world bruises on her face, tear-stained cheeks, and an actual 911 call. She said she stayed silent out of guilt. Said she didn't press charges at the time because she hoped he'd change. But it wasn't a one-time blow-up, according to her. She claimed it was a cycle, the kind that starts with manipulation, moves to violence, then back to gifts and apologies. She said Raz B tried to make it up to her by putting down a big down payment on a car, but the damage was already done. Raz B didn't stay quiet either. He said their relationship was toxic on both sides, claimed she hit him too, claimed everything was mutual, even the encounters she now calls assault. He said he'd known her for 20 years, that this wasn't random, that maybe she had a motive, maybe she wanted to hurt him. This wasn't the first time Raz B made headlines for domestic violence. In 2019, he was arrested for allegedly assaulting Cali Brooks, the same woman, but the case was dropped for lack of evidence. Still, when Cali's video hit the timeline in 2021, it split the internet in two. Some believed her immediately. Others brought up Raz B's mental health struggles, his trauma, his history of breaking down during interviews, the times he ran away from tour dates. They asked, how can someone abused become the abuser? But that's exactly what made the story even darker. Because Raz B wasn't new to allegations. He had spent most of his adult life accusing former B2K manager Chris Stokes of molesting him. First in 2007, then again in 2010, then again in 2022. He said Chris stole his childhood. He said Marcus Houston helped cover it up. He said Omarion, J-Boog, and Lil Fizz knew more than they ever admitted. But the same Raz B now had someone accusing him of violence, of control, of rape. And people didn't know what to do with that. Because if a survivor turns into an abuser, who do you believe? Who do you protect? And who do you blame? The story of Raz B and Cali Brooks became one of those painful, polarizing chapters in hip-hop and R&B culture. The kind where no one walks away clean. And it reminded the world that trauma doesn't just fade. Sometimes it mutates. Sometimes it returns in a new form. And sometimes the hurt person hurts someone else. Raz B didn't just make headlines for being a victim or for the allegations against him. Sometimes he was the controversy. From viral meltdowns to disappearing during tours, to hospitalizations, to leaked videos, Raz B became a walking headline. And for fans of B2K, it wasn't always easy to watch. Because the Raz B that once danced in sunglasses and sang "Girlfriend" was now showing up in public with erratic behavior that left people confused and concerned. Let's start with the Millennium Tour. In 2019, B2K reunited for the first time in years. Fans sold out arenas. Nostalgia was at an all-time high. But Raz B, he checked out after just a few shows. He said he didn't feel safe. Said Chris Stokes was involved behind the scenes, even though Stokes publicly denied it. Then Raz B went online, not just to vent, but to call out. He posted cryptic messages on Instagram, talked about being watched, posted videos looking disoriented, then deleted them hours later.
For Raz B in Kansas City, I don't feel safe.
1 minute, he was on stage. The next, he vanished. Later that same year, he was arrested for allegedly strangling and molesting his girlfriend in Minneapolis. Again, charges were dropped, but the damage to his reputation was already spiraling.
I think that it's like you're being held down and you're screaming no, but I was blacked out. He knew I didn't want to have
That's non-consensual sex.
Non-consensual.
By 2022, things got even darker. Raz B posted a video from a hospital room with a breathing mask on and claimed he was forced into mental health care against his will. "They're trying to kill me," he said. "They're trying to keep me from telling the truth. Call the FBI." The video went viral. Was it paranoia? Or was he in real danger? No one could say for sure, but fans were scared because whatever Raz B was going through, it was happening in real time. And the whole world was watching.
Because I'm tired of being bullied, and I'm not going to be bullied no more.
Then came the broken window incident. In May 2023, Raz B smashed a window at a hospital in Kansas City and climbed onto the building's roof. The footage was surreal. A grown man, shirtless, barefoot, standing above the emergency room like he was trying to escape something no one else could see. Police were called. A standoff happened. Eventually, he climbed down and was detained. The hospital said he was receiving mental health care, but he claimed he didn't trust anyone. People online started asking, is this a cry for help or a full-blown mental break? And then there was the OnlyFans scandal. In late 2023, fans found out Raz B had quietly started an adult content page, and not just as a side hustle. Some of the leaked footage shocked even his most loyal supporters, because Raz B was no longer the teenage heartthrob. He was now a grown man, monetizing explicit videos and mixing them with spiritual rants. He called himself Raz the Healer, said he was on a mission from God. But the content? It didn't look holy to anyone. Some said he was reclaiming power over his body. Others said he had completely lost the plot. Even B2K members started distancing themselves. Omarion stayed silent. J-Boog made cryptic comments. And Fizz, who had his own scandal dating Omarion's baby mama, was the last one who could say anything. But by this point, Raz B had become a case study in public breakdowns. People didn't know whether to pray for him or cancel him. Because yes, he had spoken out about abuse. Yes, he had been silenced for years. But the things he was doing now? They didn't always look like survival. Sometimes they looked like unraveling. And even though the internet moved on, hopping to the next scandal, those who grew up on B2K couldn't forget. Because Raz B wasn't just one controversy. He was the aftermath of all of them. And every headline after that was just another chapter. The music industry is known for burying secrets. But Raz B's allegations against Marcus Houston cracked the silence in a way no one expected. It started in 2007 when Raz B released a series of emotional videos alleging that he and his cousin Ricky Romance were molested as teenagers by Chris Stokes, the manager of B2K and Immature, IMX. But the real shock came when Raz B claimed that Marcus Houston, Stokes' protege and close friend, was also involved. You let that man touch me, Marcus. You knew, and you didn't stop it.
You know, and what Chris did, he sick Marcus on me, and then Chris also asked me, he was like, well.
His tone was broken, his voice cracked, and the internet, for a moment, stopped. Chris Stokes denied everything. He released a short statement claiming Raz B was disturbed, and later, Raz B briefly retracted the claims in a separate video. But fans noticed his eyes didn't match his words. He looked terrified. A year later, Raz B doubled back and reaffirmed the accusations, saying he had only retracted them under pressure. Marcus Houston? He stayed silent. No interview, no statement, no denial. Just silence. And that silence spoke volumes. Raz B wasn't just naming names. He was trying to break a code of silence embedded deep within the entertainment industry, especially among black male artists. The allegations struck a nerve because they exposed the unspoken vulnerability of young black boys in Hollywood, a topic rarely discussed in public. Even Nick Cannon, in a 2020 podcast, said, "If Raz B's lying, that's the most elaborate, long-running lie ever. But if he's telling the truth, then the industry owes him everything." The fact that so many major outlets refused to cover Raz B's claims only made things worse. It created a perception that his pain didn't matter, or worse, that his trauma was entertainment. The storm may have passed, but for Raz B, the clouds never fully cleared. After years of interviews, viral rants, emotional confessions, and disturbing allegations, Raz B now stands in a strange and painful place, caught between being seen as a survivor, a suspect, and a man unraveling in real time. For many fans, Raz B was once the sweet-faced, soft-voiced heartthrob of B2K. Now, he's the face of emotional chaos, a man whose Instagram lives are watched not for music updates, but for signs of another breakdown. He cried on camera. He has claimed to fear for his life. He has walked out of reunion tours. And at times, he's even hinted at suicidal thoughts, sending fans into panic. And yet, somehow, he keeps going. But what does survival look like when you're constantly questioned, doubted, and even ridiculed? Raz B has spoken openly about his battles with mental health. He's posted from hospitals. He's claimed to be under surveillance. And once, in a haunting video, he ran through a hotel lobby barefoot, screaming that he didn't feel safe. Then posted a video of what appeared to be himself with an IV in his arm.
Because let me tell you, I don't feel safe. I'm in Kansas City. I'm at the Hilton Hotel. And I'm telling everybody right now, RazB does not feel safe.
In 2023, he reportedly checked into a mental health facility voluntarily. Some saw it as a step toward healing. Others saw it as yet another sad chapter in a life marked by trauma. No one denies that he needs help. But what kind of help, and who's really offering it? The 2019 B2K Millennium Tour was supposed to be a victory lap, a celebration of brotherhood. But it quickly devolved into chaos. Raz B walked out mid-tour, citing safety concerns. He accused management of brushing off his fears. He even suggested that Chris Stokes, the man he's long accused of abuse, was still lurking in the background. The group hasn't performed together since. In interviews, Omarion, J-Boog, and Lil Fizz have offered varying degrees of sympathy and distance. J-Boog famously called him a headache, while Omarion took a more diplomatic route, saying he wished him peace but had to protect his own energy. There's no reunion coming, not anytime soon. Despite the seriousness of the allegations, including the 2021 claims from Cali Brooks, no formal charges are currently active against Raz B. But the scars of public accusation remain. Every time his name trends, it's tied to trauma. He hasn't had a clean slate in over a decade. Raz B's ongoing feud with Chris Stokes and Marquez Houston has become a kind of open wound, one that neither party seems ready to close. Raz has accused them of heinous acts. They've denied everything. But the silence from the rest of the industry, especially from former Tug artists, speaks volumes. No one defends him, but no one fully denounces him either. It's an eerie standoff. The result? Raz B is stuck in the middle, not vindicated, not discredited, just drifting. The internet has had a complicated relationship with Raz B. Some see him as a tragic figure, a man broken by the very industry that made him famous. And Raz B maintains the fact that he spoke his truth.
Because at the end of the day, it's my life, and I spoke my truth, and I'm looking to move past it, not to harpers on it.
Others see him as erratic, unstable, and hard to believe. Musically, Raz B has tried to revive his career, releasing solo tracks, hinting at new projects, but nothing has truly landed. Promoters are wary, collaborators are distant, and the public is unsure. He's still talented. That's never been the issue. The issue is the baggage, the kind that doesn't go away with a catchy hook. In some ways, he's become a cautionary tale in an industry that often refuses to deal with its own darkness.
What I did know is the first time I learned how to, I was at Chris's house. Ricky was on one side of the bed, and my cousin Tony Scott was on the other side of the bed. Why am I learning at 5 or 6 years old how to jack off at Chris Stokes' house?
This is the aftermath. A legacy in limbo. A survivor, a question mark, and a symbol, all rolled into one. And no matter where Raz B goes next, the shadows are never far behind.
I just pray that we can protect our children more, man. You know, real talk. Like, nobody should have to go through that. You know, some of my close friends, I won't name names, they're like, I'm surprised you ain't kill yourself.
That will be all for now. Goodbye.